Perfect. We're on. It's always better to feel like a star, right? With a microphone like this. Welcome all to the event today at the 10th day of the climate conference on, let me not pronounce it wrong. It's about food, agriculture, and most importantly about water. So today we'll have our event on water as leverage as an approach to world urban climate resilience through climate action, local climate action. So my name is Naomi Hoogvorst. I work at the Planning, Finance and Economy section at UN Habitat. Been working a lot on integrated and inclusive planning and how can you do that better with communities, all stakeholders involved in water-related issues in cities, a topic that everyone understands. The objectives of this session is threefold. First of all, we'll understand a bit better the complexities of urbanization and water-related issues and opportunities. We'll get an introduction of the water as leverage approach, a unique way to collaborate, and that's also the third point that we would like to invite you also to see how you can join this water as leverage community. So there will be a panel discussion afterwards that shares some reflections and examples of how the water as leverage approach can work. And after the event, there's an opportunity to mingle a bit, discuss during some networking drinks and bitings. So welcome all again. Very happy that we are here together on the 10th day in a good group to discuss this topic. We'll start off with opening remarks, because there's also an announcement to make, and that will be done by our excellencies. And we will start with our Deputy Executive Director of UN Habitat, and I'll give the floor to him. Thank you.
Excellencies, honorable guests, distinguished delegates, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to each one of you. It is an honor to be virtually with you at the opening of this event entitled Water as Leverage for Worldwide Urban Resilience through Multilevel Climate Action. Here at the Multilevel Action and Urbanization Pavilion during the 28th session of the Climate Conference. First, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Kingdom of the Netherlands for hosting this critical event, focusing on the enhancement of urban water resilience amidst the challenges posed by climate change. Earlier this year, the UN 2023 Water Conference in New York, successfully co-organized by the Kingdom of the Netherlands, witnessed the gathering of numerous commitments under the Water Action Agenda, many geared towards climate action. Allow me to highlight three key UN Habitat commitments to the Water Action Agenda, namely localizing SDG 6, transforming access to water and sanitation services by strengthening the capacity of water and sanitation operators who are closest to service provision. Strengthening and scaling up water and sanitation partnerships by over hundreds through the Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance of UN Habitat to accelerate capacity of service providers in the attainment of SDG 6 and SDG 11.1. Wastewater 2030, striving for a circular economy in a climate resilient world. Global report on sanitation and wastewater management in cities and human settlements, the first edition of which was launched during our second session of the UN Habitat Assembly in June. Today, as cities find themselves on the front line of the climate crisis, emitting over 70% of global greenhouse gases and grappling with sea level rise and deadly storms, our discussions at COP28 are indeed crucial. At this COP, we are reviewing the progress of climate targets set by the Paris Agreement and also emphasizing the global goal of adaptation. Water lies indeed at the heart of our major urban challenges, from water-related risks to water and environmental pollution and biodiversity loss. Water as a leverage for sustainable urban development is an absolutely critical area for UN Habitat's support to cities and communities. We achieve this, among others, through promoting multi-level governance, water and sanitation policies, integrated green and blue infrastructure planning and design, and supporting the blue economy. Additionally, UN Habitat convenes the Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance, GWOPA, an international network where water and sanitation operators collaborate on a solidarity-based approach to provide quality services for all. The water as leverage approach has demonstrated its efficacy in catalyzing just and sustainable urban water and climate resilience. Dear colleagues and friends, today I'm delighted to share a significant development, building on the successful collaboration on water as leverage between UN Habitat and the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Asia, specifically in India, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. We are embarking on the development of a global transformative approach. This initiative aims to expand scalable, finance-ready solutions, effectively bridging the climate finance gap in cities. As we convene under the theme of multi-level action and urbanization, this multi-stakeholder initiative holds the potential to enhance urban water resilience, contributing to and aligning with national adaptation plans and promoting climate resilience globally. Thank you all for being a part of this crucial session. May your discussions be fruitful as we work together towards a more resilient and sustainable urban future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also actually a warm welcome to the people that are following the live stream. I'm aware that some of our colleagues are joining there as well that could not attend the COP in person. So also a warm welcome to you. Then I would like to give the floor to Meike van Ginneken, the Special Envoy for International Water Affairs of the Netherlands. And as the DD already mentioned, the Netherlands co-hosted the UN Water Conference, UN 2023 Water Conference, and also committed to scale up water as leverage as part of the Water Action Agenda. So I'm looking forward to hear your opening remarks.
Thank you. I'll be a good bureaucrat and stand behind the podium. Thank you. Let's imagine the city of the future. Where do I want to live? I want to live in a climate resilient city which is protected against floods. I want to live in a just city in which everybody is protected against floods, not just the rich, in which everybody has access to affordable basic services, where people have decent homes and a green and livable city with green spaces and with water. A city in which women and men have decent jobs and can feed their families. We think, as a community of water as leverage, that we can build these cities of the future by using water as a central theme, by using water as leverage, as the title of the partnership implies. We can make water the engine of climate adaptation because water is not a sector. It is how people, individual, ordinary citizens, experience climate change. Because their home gets flooded, because their harvest is not as good as last year, because the rain came late, because their cattle dies, because the tap water is dirty. So water is how climate change manifests itself, but it's also water is also the engine of climate adaptation. About 3 months ago in Chennai, the City of 1,000 Tank Water Balance pilot was inaugurated at the Little Flower Convent Higher Secondary School for the deaf and the blind. This project gives us a glimpse of what our city of the future can look like. The pilot shows what the city of Bangalore could look like if we embrace nature to make our communities more water and climate resilient. Think about a lush and friendly green area that doubles as a rainwater harvesting basin, which treats wastewater before recharging it into the aquifer through infiltration gardens. I think this project in Bangalore actually shows what Water as Leverage is all about. It's people-centered, it's community-led, and it's inclusive. It's about dreaming, about looking through the problems of today towards the opportunities of the future, about creating a shared vision with everybody in a city of what we want our communities to look like in the future. But it's not only about dreaming, it's about making that dream a reality. That vision a reality. So the Water as Leverage program is bridging the gap between dreams, project designs, and project implementation. Water as Leverage across societal, sectoral, and administrative boundaries. And we're happy that this pilot at the Little Flower Convent School will soon be replicated in institutions across India. 9 months ago, we had the UN Water Conference and we came together and committed to scaling up Water as Leverage. It was one of our commitments that we made as part of the Water Action Agenda. I'm very happy to report back to you that we're in the middle of implementing this commitment. We're making our commitment a reality. Water as Leverage is in full swing. I visited Cartagena in Colombia a couple of months ago, and we have a Water as Leverage Cartagena. In Spanish, it's called Construyendo con el Agua. What immediately struck me when I visited this project was the deep involvement of community leaders. These community leaders, like many community leaders in cities around the world, had seen NGOs, international organizations, bilateral donors come and go and kind of consult them, but never as deep as with Water as Leverage. So they thought, okay, this one we're going to invest in. On this one, the program of Water as Leverage is actually our program. So they have really an ownership from the community leaders that is very impressive. 2 design teams are working on project concept. And what's also specific out of Water as Leverage approach is that financiers were involved in an early stage, so they could think along. I worked at the World Bank myself. Very often these studies, etc., you had to put them away because the procurement is not followed, or safeguard is not followed. Bringing these financiers in early makes the process go quicker and makes that these dreams are coming through. The mayor of Cartagena was a strong leader, standing up for his city, standing up for Water as Leverage. Since then, since I visited, there has been elections. And you always know with city governments or with national governments, there's elections. Are they going to continue? Because it's so owned by community leaders, these kind of initiatives go beyond elections because the new mayor had no chance but to continue working on it. So we're happy to roll out the Water as Leverage with the National Mission on Clean Ganga, the River City Alliance in India. And we're also very happy that the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure had co-developed a new water infrastructure program along the lines of Water as Leverage. So Water as Leverage started as a project or a program sponsored by the Netherlands, but it's becoming a community, a movement. It's becoming something from all of us. It's a movement in many cities around the world. We want our ideas to be stolen. Please steal them, implement them in your own way, in your own city. That's how knowledge flows like water. We want mayors and community leaders to be the champions of change, and we want to work with you. So we're very happy that the Water as Leverage methodology that has been developed has now been incorporated as a best practice in UN Habitat's new urban agenda. You already saw the Deputy Executive Director of Habitat, also from the government of the Netherlands. We're really excited with this new partnership for Water as Leverage with UN Habitat. You already worked with us in 3 cities in Asia, in Semarang, Khulna, and Chennai, as well as for the regional workshop for Singapore. I think it's a little bit like we were engaged and now we're getting married. So hope there's drinks for the happy occasion. With this new partnership, you and Habitat will join in our ambition of bringing water as leverage to many more cities worldwide. We're looking forward to working together in Bangkok, in Nakuru, in Kenya. And let's go back to that dream. The city of the future is possible. And let's not wait for that future. Let's build that future. Let's build that future now and make it a reality today. Join the movement. Make sure that water is the leverage to make your city livable, just, and climate resilient. Let's make water the engine of climate adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your opening remarks, Meike van Ginneken, and for your inspiring story, and also to see the commitment that Water as Leverage is one of the main vehicles to implement the goal of the Netherlands' international water ambition on enhancing water safety and security for millions of people in cities. A warm welcome to His Excellency Mark Harbers, the Minister of Infrastructure and Water Management from the Netherlands. And also, thank you, the acting minister of Al Shakti from India, the Water Ministry. Great that you are here with us. So maybe some of the people already wondered, what is this unique approach? So now we're going to the next section, where we will explain in detail or in a nutshell what Water as Leverage approach is, what is also interesting perhaps for you to connect to. And that will be explained by Lisa Hartog, and she's the Senior Advisor of International Water Affairs and Climate Adaptation, also from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management from the Netherlands. She was also the director of the New York Water Week in March this year. So happy to give you the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you all, and welcome to the ministers who just arrived. It's a pleasure to be here on Water Day, to get out, the first slide, please. It's a pleasure to be here on Water Day. An opportunity to get out of the water bubble, joining the dynamic city scene with urban designers, architects, and government planners. And let me start by saying that water is all around us. Water is at the heart of climate action and at the heart of all the major challenges we are facing, also in the urban space. If we want to make impact and reach the SDGs by integrated solutions, water should also be connected to social, economic, and ecological targets. Next slide, please. The climate crisis is a water crisis, and it's urgent. Floods in Italy, droughts in Canada, and polluted water in Pakistan as a consequence of extreme rainfall. These water crises, combined with rapid and often unplanned urbanization, pose a threat to life support mechanisms, catastrophic events, and eventually life. Yes, cities around the world are suffering hard by climate change and increasing urbanization. But being at the forefront of exposure, cities are also leading transformative actions and adaptation efforts for a resilient-proof future. Next slide, please. But change never comes easy. We need millions. Millions to invest in the billions. This means enabling and catalyzing the first million. This will generate further investments needed for the billions for implementation. And picture yourself in ancient Egypt and imagine the workmen in the desert. They used the lever to move and uplift the obelisk, weighing more than 100 tons. We need leverage for water solutions too. The program Water as Leverage offers that solution, a program that supports design projects to deliver on urban water resilience through water. Next slide. And how does Water as Leverage works? First, starting in the pre-project and project preparation phase to approach stakeholders for inclusive collaboration. Michael already mentioned that. Second, using a pressure cooker model, challenging participants to come up with innovative solutions. And third, breaking through silos and using an overarching approach to prevent fragmentation. But further, creating a productive environment to broaden project scopes, leaving normalities behind and exploring creative synergies. For example, strengthening local capacity, working together with communities, but also empowering vulnerable groups, making them not only owners of the project, but also guardians of the process. Water as leverage started in Asia and the city of Khulna in Bangladesh, Semarang in Indonesia, and Chennai in India, where, as we speak, heavy floods are going on. Hotspots where climate change was piling up massive challenges. Within these 3 city tracks, the partners jointly developed some 30 project proposals, using the local context and the physical environment as a driver for change, aiming for innovative blue and green infrastructure solutions, including cultural, economic, and social structures. Complex, but not too big. For when it comes down to bringing in climate solutions, we never get bored. And the 1,000 tank project in India, Chennai, is perhaps the best example of a scalable project. Ensuring water for a school for 500 visually and hearing impaired children. Using nature-based water treatment, this project created a closed loop for a sustainable water treatment system. And like the name of the project, we can do it in 1,000 times, with 1,000 water tanks, 1,000 schools, 1,000 rivers, and thousands of people. And we will upscale the activities in India through the Green Climate Fund, also representing here today, and the water as leverage process will be brought into neighboring Mylapore. And on a national level, the Ganga River partnering with the National Mission Clean Ganga. In addition, with help from the so-called Water as Leverage Factory and the Water as Leverage Academy. Global reputation was spotlighted earlier this year during the UN 2020 Water Conference in New York, where we announced Water as Leverage through the Water Action Agenda as a Water City commitment. This track record of water as leverage in Asia brought us to Cartagena in Colombia. Ongoing discussions are taking place in Africa, and other discussions are happening in various regions and countries. For example, using experience in Semarang in Indonesia to explore water as leverage 2.0. In other words, the water as leverage community is growing into a global multi-level partnership. And I'm very pleased that we're here today with so many partners. And that as from today, we were also working with UN Habitat. Again, Michael already mentioned it, a marriage. UN Habitat will bring in knowledge, expertise, and a global network on urban water planning to the Water as Leverage program, while fostering integration with national adaptation plans. For mitigation is energy related, and adaptation is water related. Today is a new step, strengthening each other on multi-level climate action program development. And we all invite you to become part of this community. Together, we can enhance urban water resilience by upscaling and integrate the different initiatives. Well, I think that I've said water as leverage at least 15 times now. So I will stop talking and welcome to give the floor to the next speaker. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you, Lisa, for explaining the water as leverage approach 16 times now. Now, I hope you all get a better understanding, especially, I think, bridging the gap from planning to implementation and actually demonstrating how a project could help and benefit communities. Thanks for that. Then we would like to go to the next speaker, Mr. André Zikos from UN Habitat. He's the Chief on Urban Basic Services, the section that also covers water issues. Many years of experience. I would like to give you the floor and explain a bit what UN Habitat does and also how UN Habitat can help in scaling up the approach through the UN system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naomi, honorable ministers, colleagues. It's a great pleasure being here on behalf of UN Habitat. And you might know UN Habitat is not based, headquartered in New York, Geneva, or Vienna, where many other UN agencies are, but we're actually based in Nairobi, Kenya. Nairobi is also the cradle of humankind, where many anthropologists have actually come together and looked at the evolution of Homo sapiens. And why I'm mentioning this is because I think we're actually also at an anthropological point where we are changing. Majority of the world's population is actually living in cities. And some people say that we're actually evolving from being Homo sapiens to being Homo urbanos, an urban species. This is something we should keep in mind. And Maike was speaking about what is the city we would like to live in future. And we're seeing that the next 20, 30 years, more than 1 billion people will be moving to cities. So if we catapult us to the year 2050, and the cities which we'll be seeing at that time have not been built. So we actually have a very, very unique opportunity of designing and building cities which are much more water sensitive than our current cities if we want to get this right. So we can actually learn a lot. The other part which I would like to sort of mention is UN Habitat's strategic plan. Our strategic plan looks at people-centered urban planning and how we can put people into the center of cities, looking at prosperity, how urban planning and cities can contribute towards prosperity of a city residents, looking at the planet, looking at environmental management and protection, circular economy and climate change in our cities, and also looking at peace. How can we build peace in our cities through water? One of the things, if we think about water and cities, we should look at ourselves. Each and every one of us is made up of water. We are 83% water. This is a very combining factor, which we should always keep in mind as we as Homo urbanos live in cities. The other thing we should also keep in mind is if we look at the furniture here, there are wooden legs. There is virtual water all around us. All the cities require water to build. Somebody needed water to grow the trees to make these chairs. We need water for building these buildings, the construction. So this is something we have to keep in mind as we plan our cities. We have virtual water to think about. We have water for productive services. We have water for our environment to keep about. So this is actually quite something we should keep in mind, the background of our minds. The guiding principle for us in dealing with cities and urban development is the new urban agenda, which was adopted in 2016 in Quito, in Ecuador. And water is actually mentioned 28 times in the new urban agenda. And it gives us very good guidance on actually how to combine urban planning and urban development and sustainable urban water and sanitation management. We speak about water as a leverage, and I would like to sort of try and use a different word, and that is like, how do we maximize the use for sustainable urban development? How do we maximize the use of water for sustainable urban development? I'd like to give you a few examples of UN Habitat's work. We've worked on river cleanups in different parts of the world. We've worked in Bagmati River. We've worked in Nairobi River. We've worked in Nanjing Qinghai River. And what river cleanups have actually resulted in is that there is actually economic prosperity coming out of this because people could settle along the rivers, real estate prices would go up, and this has actually resulted in prosperity for the people. Another example we did is a project in Lao PDR in Luang Prabang, which is a tourist city. We actually provided water and sanitation to a settlement of 10,000 people. And with the access to water and sanitation, the people could actually start tourist businesses and could host people in community living initiatives and could start small businesses. So this is an example, for instance, of economic prosperity coming out of investments into water. Another example I would like to give is from Patan, from Nepal, where we rehabilitated traditional water supply systems, where people are not using piped water for providing water to the community, but using a traditional aquifers where you have recharge areas under temples and you have water spouts where the water is coming out in a very sustainable manner. So these are just some of the examples of how we can actually maximize the use of water for sustainable urban development. Just to sum up, just to speak about what UN Habitat is doing, we have a strong focus on water and sanitation, access to water and sanitation. We have our Global Water Operators Partnership as an alliance of twinning and partnering water operators. We have our work on water and urban and regional planning, of which water and leverage is an example. We also have our work on urban catchment management, of integrating the different actors in terms of water management. So that's just a very quick overview of the linkages of what UN Habitat is doing in water and sanitation, how it's contributing towards people, prosperity, planet, and also peace in our cities. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, André Tikus, for connecting the dots and also coming up with some great examples how water as leverage could also be implemented, and all the work that has been done on planning to not only create resilience, but also to create prosperity and opportunities. Thanks a lot for your inspiring words. Then we're going to the next section, the roundtable. I would like to invite the panelists to come and sit here with me so we can actually reflect on the scene that has been set, and to also hear a bit from experience from countries, cities, professionals, and financiers. So welcome to the chairs. Thank you. Maybe in the middle. Just leave him. Yeah. Let me stand here so we have two microphones for the honorable panel. Great. I will start with His Excellency Jia Sok Kumar, Acting Minister of Al Shakti, the Ministry of Water, as I mentioned. He's also the Director of the Director General for the National Mission for Clean Ganga and the Special Secretary. Many thanks for being here with us. And I know you have to leave soon, so let's start with the first question. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about the link between water as leverage with the Ganga River Cities Alliance initiative of the National Mission for Clean Ganga that's being undertaken by the government of India, and sort of what are next steps for this initiative?
Thank you for inviting us. Let me also first thank our Excellency, the Minister, Mark Herbers, who had come to our pavilion to launch the Global River City Alliance, a wonderful cooperation between the Government of Netherlands and Government of India. As part of this strategic alliance, which the Denmark and Netherlands and the Government of India had signed in April 2021, we had taken up a lot of activities, particularly to the industrial pollution abatement in multi-sector platforms in Haryana, water as leverage, part of the Namami Gange program, water as leverage in Chennai, and Room for River project in Kerala, and pilot project in Dob of Aner and Koratal River in Chennai, and capacity development programs. A lot of activities have been taken up with the joint initiative under this partnership program. And I'm very happy to be associated with Water as River program in various cities. In Chennai also I visited the projects, and in the recently launched River City Alliance, we had been taking up a lot of activities with the Netherlands governments as a part of the Water as Leverage program. And the program which launched today, the Global River City Alliance, also we are looking at closer associations. As a part of that, we already have had a couple of workshops held in Uttar Pradesh, which is the most important state on the banks of river Ganga, and we have actually started one program was already done, and in Prayagraj, the place where the largest conglomeration of people take place. But 200 million people join together in a short time in this place. So you can imagine the type of the dirt it can create, the sewage it can create, and the pollution it can create. Now we have learning the experience from Netherlands and also other similar partners and technology providers to keep the river clean during this huge Kumbh Mela, which is going to take place in 2025. We have done one workshop already. This next workshop is scheduled on the June 29th. So Prayagraj, a very historic city, is one of the platforms for working together from the experiences learned from the Chennai program, which you have mentioned. Chennai was an amazing success story, and we are learning from the success of Chennai.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for linking that work, and also to mention that indeed water also has a spiritual value. So I think we also have to consider that in the working with the communities. And maybe lastly, could you tell us a bit more about the potential of water as leverage? I think you touched upon it a bit, but how could it help making Indian cities more resilient? And especially in the work that we will be doing in Prayagraj.
As I mentioned, the first workshop was held in October 22nd in Prayagraj, looking at the various aspects of river management and how to rejuvenate rivers, and all these things have been taken up in October. And the new second workshop is actually in the next month. It's coming up. Our biggest challenge in the Ganga basin and in Ganga river is the sewage, untreated sewage, which used to come into the rivers. We are now working with them, with the Netherlands government, also how to look at bioremediation, how to use nature-based solutions. This because the running of the big engineering solutions is taking a lot of money. The operation and maintenance costs are very big. We are now partnering with, in fact, many Netherlands-based organizations and countries to help us in providing nature-based solutions and also build capacities of the people on the banks of rivers.
Thank you very much for being here with us and sharing those key insights, and for taking sort of a leadership to have a national program on cleaning and making rivers more resilient for the communities, the major communities living around them. So many thanks. If you need to go.
With the minister's permission, I would take leave and go, because the program is halfway through there.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Many thanks. Applause, please. Great, the program will continue, no worries, with key insights from the speakers you can already see at the backdrop here. I would like to now go to Mr. Amit Proti. He's the Director General of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, in short, CDRI. He's a global expert, 3 decades of leadership in the fields of urban planning and resilient infrastructure, and worked across many countries, actually all over the world. So it would be great to hear from you. CDRI is a committed partner of Water as Leverage. And how do you see those initiatives coming together?
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. And Minister, it's so nice to see you. I don't know if you remember, but last year at COP, we actually shook hands. Earlier in Delhi, you actually came and, helped us talk about what the government of India and CDRI, government of Netherlands and CDRI would like to do. And we're actually launching a strategy in the next half an hour with the help of the Netherlands government, which I'm very proud of. CDRI, just for everybody's benefit, is an international government organization focused on resilient infrastructure. And to that extent, we work a lot with member countries. So it's not just India, it's not just Netherlands, it's UK, Australia, Fiji, Jamaica, etc., etc. There are 37 countries that are members. Water as Leverage, and interestingly enough, some of you might know this, but I was part of Water as Leverage from day 2. I think there was the Dutch team that was day 1. I was part of it from day 2. actually helped bring the whole program to Chennai, Khulna, and Semarang. And I saw how innovation, I mean, basically what Water as Leverage really is trying to do is break the shackles of how we design infrastructure today and see how can we innovate in the water sector so that it transforms urban areas. And I saw that evolve right from day one, so day two, saw the problems along the way. You know, it's very hard to ask an engineer to think about nature as a solution to a water problem. An engineer is mostly still looking at putting flood drains in place. That's how we are teaching our engineers. That's how we are teaching our communities not to see plants as a way of flood mitigation, but expecting a certain kind of infrastructure. So Water as Leverage really was trying to push in this whole innovation space. CDRI is very happy to partner with Water as Leverage in the the Water as Leverage Academy, because we are very strongly advocating for capacity development. You know, you can't just do one project at a time, one pilot at a time, but actually how do you train the next generation to think differently? So I'll stop there. There's lots more to talk about.
Great, thank you. And also to point out that we need to go from engineering to integrated design solutions. Thanks for sharing that with us. Maybe also, yeah, I've heard a lot during this conference how we can become more concrete from planning to implementation. Could you share some of the concrete actions that you see that CDRI can contribute to in the Water as Leverage program?
Yes. So, you know, like I just said, we'll be launching an urban strategy literally in the next half an hour. We are committing to 4 agendas as part of that strategy. One, the whole notion for capacity building. How do we train? So with Water as Leverage, with the methodology of the academy, how do we bring that to the coalition countries? So how do we bring it to experts around the world? You know, I already had conversations with Dominican Republic, Ghana. They're interested to solve the problem of water. So one, on the capacity building side. Second, data. I mean, I think there is a huge piece missing when we talk about adaptation, when we talk about climate impact on the water sector. How does a local or a person who's looking at infrastructure or the urban integrated approach, how do they understand risk? How do they actually understand risk if they don't have the data? I'm not saying data is enough. I think Chennai, we just saw, we've had 1 year of rainfall fall in one day, like 1/3 of the rainfall that falls in a year. So even if you predicted climate change, you would have always assumed about 15-20%, and here, 1/3 of the rain fell. So it's very hard. Then it's like, how do you, so we are also committed to training. So data, the whole notion of community of practice, because we are a coalition, we want to bring expertise from the Netherlands, from Japan, from Australia, people who are actually solving these problems on the ground, create these communities of practice. Capacity building, data, communities of practice, and then examples on the ground. Those are the 4 things we're committing to in our strategy and committing support to it.
Great, thank you. Could you maybe highlight one example of something to implement on the ground? Could you elaborate a bit on that? Not of
because we're just
script,
launching it.
Yeah.
I mean, the school example that you just talked about.
Yeah.
It took 5 years for that school example to come into place. And why did that happen? Because the standards didn't allow it. COVID hit us. If you think about nature-based solution, how do you actually put it on the ground if your standards are not appropriate and accept that water quality can be cleaned through plant-based methods? Right? That acceptance has to be there in a code and a standard. And in this case, how do we take that example and then transform that into a guideline or a code so that others can start? So we're actually also doing that kind of work. So starting to look at codes and standards. So just as a real example of how do you take a nature-based solution example, transform that into some kind of a guideline, into a code, so that others can start to accept that as a solution. So we're working on that sort of pathway as well.
Great, thanks a lot. I think it speaks now for itself, and maybe a good sort of segue to the Green Climate Fund. We have a representative, Mr. Bapon Fakhruddin. He's a water resource management senior specialist, and overall, I think I can say, a water and climate leader with over 20 years global experience, and also to provide leadership and oversight of the GCF portfolio of investments in water resources for addressing climate change. So we have the perfect person in the room. And then moving from what CDRI, what Amrit just mentioned on sort of, we need data, we need to de-risk, we need standards in order to also implement, for example, nature-based solutions. Could you reflect on that, challenges and opportunities for localizing this climate finance? And if possible, also share some experiences on how that has been done successfully.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe I can start with a little bit challenges first, and then I can provide some oversight that what are the opportunities GCF brought for the global community. And obviously what Amit just mentioned, actually, that's one of the biggest challenge when you're looking at, I mean, here we're also confining the water use into the urban perspectives. So when you're looking at the urban domain itself, just looking at the global scale, you're talking, you have a framework like, urban agenda, global urban agenda, which is you're changing for 2030. But that has a quite interlinkage with other 4 framework, Paris Agreement, SDG, Kunming framework, as well as Sendai framework. And overall, what we are actually understanding that everything is actually falling short. And one actually falls short, everything actually highly impacted, because with this climate change, it's emerging. And when it's emerging, it has a cascading and compounding impact. And water is not far out of that. And water doesn't have a boundary. Water is actually linking with everything. But especially when we're coming to the urban sector, it's more complex because our urban infrastructure was not designed for such kind of extremity. And you cannot change urban design or infrastructure overnight. It's impossible. And that's why we're seeing actually more and more urban flooding. Pluvial flooding is acute. And it's not easy to solving those kind of problems. But then maybe the low-hanging fruit is here is actually the early warning for all of that kind of initiatives that are going on. But again, the challenge behind is actually how we mobilize financing, first of all. Secondly, how actually we have a risk-based decision-making culture, as well as change of behavior, a little bit on utilizing water as an asset class. We think that water as a common goods, it should be free. We don't need to pay anything for water or wastewater. Wastewater is far behind. And then the infrastructure of that 2 particular sizes. And another greatest challenge is actually no one actually wants to invest their money unless there is a free ecosystem or risk-free environment. Even for a personal perspective, I'll not invest my money to buying a share if I see there is a risk. So you need to create an enabling environment for them so that they can actually de-risk any kind of risk that they see for investing. And water is not attractive for private sector like energy, because adaptation is always actually difficult to making a package that could attract to the private sector engagement. And so looking at this kind of problem perspectives, what GCF is trying to do, how actually a world's largest climate finance actually to bring a paradigm shift into the market. We already mobilized $3.5 billion over the last 7 years, but this is not enough. We are talking about, if we want to achieve 2030 goals, we need to have $120 billion in the market every year. But which has also a proven experience that it could actually bring a 7-fold benefit. But however, there is no private sector is actually coming on board. And we try to look at actually how we can actually make that ecosystem enable for them. So GCF is trying to create a catalytic financing where bringing all sort of financial instrument. It's not only just grant, it's a highly concessional loans. So actually, if you go to the local bank, they can give you 5 years or 6 years with a certain percentage of loan. But if the country comes to the GCF, they can actually access 0% interest up to 30 years of return period, and which could enable us to, sustaining such kind of infrastructure like wastewater treatment plant or water supply network. And also at the same time, we have equity, guarantor, insurance, all sort of instrument, and which you will not find actually any other MDBs or any other climate financer. And also we have a high risk appetite. So in that point of view, we're trying to create a local ecosystem as well as enabling environment with policy and guidance so that actually private sector could engage and de-risking that kind of environment. And there has been one of the greatest example, we actually mobilized $1.5 billion into the South Africa to enhancing their water resilience or water security with the DBSA. So these are some of the innovation we are bringing, but obviously we need to think wisely actually how that could be happen, how we create a nature-based, engage more nature-based solution, how we actually utilize the water as an asset class, and how actually we collaboratively make a partnership, because water sector is still silos. They don't actually amalgate or mingle with the climate society or DRR society or other sectors. So how actually it could be integrated and interlinkage that need to be looked at. Thanks.
Great, thanks a lot for sharing your experiences and ideas on how to make climate finance more accessible, also in complex urban environments. Maybe shortly, if you could touch upon, if we want to expand on water as leverage, a global approach working with many cities, what are your ideas for how finance could also help, maybe through a global approach, finding ways to make it more accessible?
Yeah, I think some of the initiative that I say WAL has started, that water as a leverage, if we're able to bring those case study very strongly into the market and how actually we can replicate or accelerate. So one of the beauty here in GCF is that our finance is not limited to any certain amount. So you can actually accelerate any incubator to the whole country or multiple cities, as well as regionally, if the country is willing to expand those kind of initiatives. So that's one of the biggest opportunity that we can actually bring. And also the other opportunity is actually how we can actually say, again, backing to that, to ensuring the whatever other financer, or how actually we can enhance the local direct access entity, what we call like a country empowerment to accessing financing from GCF. The biggest challenge also here is, again, actually to understanding the language, because each of those climate finance has a different requirement. So how we actually package those things to the right financing, or even to understand actually what finance is suitable for what. Because if you look at the 4 climate finances, the JEF, adaptation finance, finance, as well as CIF and GCF. So there are so many examples you'll find, Jeff, because Jeff is here more than 30 years. And they have demonstrated so many good examples in a country, but those are like a ad hoc. You finish one, there's no sustainability thinking. So that's the reason actually if the 4 funds joined hand together this time to make sure that how we actually jointly program from the beginning that what could be an incubator and how the country could start thinking about long-term sustainability from the midway, because no donor provide a transitionality. You finish one project, you want to jump to another project, you need some time, but no one actually provide the financing for that. And when there is no financing, government has less appetite to packaging those things to properly to the replace to the next donor. So we try to bridging that gaps as well from the GCF point of view through the readiness financing. So what we try to do for the country, they can access up to $7 million over the 4 years time to create a readiness to access the more financing as a project, or building their capacity and put some high quality project into the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing those new initiatives, new mechanisms to help also perhaps water as leverage to scale up. We are a bit over time. We started late, but I would like to give the last power floor to Ms. Koch, in short, but Kocharon Vorakon, the Chief Executive Officer of Land Process Thailand. She's a landscape architect and wearing actually many hats, received many awards for integrating green spaces in planning for urban resilience. So if you maybe can sort of pitch and inspire us all with what the opportunities are in 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay,
Would be
sure.
great. Thank you.
Okay, so this is Bangkok. You can just flip through. Yes, this is Bangkok, and this is us in 2050, 23 years from now. We're probably going to be gone from the map. Yes. And this is us every day. I'm sure this is very common to many other countries right now. And this is the next day. And this is actually the coastline of Bangkok. That's well, we export a shrimp farm. So this is probably one of the risks, and this is our boundary. And I think this is the study that I would have to like go through the boat 30 minutes to really touch the ones that used to be land. So the indigenous knowledge of like monkey sheep holding the water. This is some of the project of nature-based solution that I try to promote in 15 million city. This is the first one in 30 years. And it's only open for 5 years. So we don't have enough like natural infrastructure or nature-based solution that has been implemented. And this is have to be equipped with many technology, green roof. And yes, the project has been successfully accepted. And Mr. Antonio Guterres even came for the support. So I just feel that we did something right, but we need more to scale up. So yes. And this is another project of the biggest urban rooftop in Asia, also thinking about how to slow down runoff, the food securities, and many more. And we use from the local knowledge of rice terraces and slow down the runoff. And now I'm get to know more about how can I make my government? I'm part of the community, and thank you for having me as a water as a leverage communities. And how can we go back to where we were like 50 years ago, like being part of the canals and things. And I think learning from Dutch is actually one of the access that we have. This is our canals right now. You can just go through. Yeah, I'm talking to my governors, talking about how can we making this perfect. And this is actually something that we can do. This is without funding from outside yet. And I just feel that, yeah, we have so much budget that we actually can relocate into a better solution. But yes, and this is how we want to have a good life next to the canals and be friends with the waters again. But this is a reality that I have to go through all this bureaucracy and talk through this. And that's why our government want to talk about the Ministry of Water and how those who came before structure this kind of water related issues. And with water as a relation, this is His Excellency Remco, the Netherlands ambassador with the governor of Bangkok, and with the water as hotspot. It's only hotspot. And we're actually coming up with the 16 hotspot together, talking with the governor of Bangkok that what can we do with all this study, with all these problems. And Netherlands send the expert, send the private sectors to really come talk in Bangkok and find out the hotspot. The governor has pinned up 4 spots that he really interested of making it in actions. And now, yesterday, thank you, Your Excellencies, to meet with the Ministry of Water Infrastructure, meeting with our Ministry of Natural Resources. So I just feel that with water as leverage, for me, I'm not like part of the designer only, but part of the vulnerable community. We can leverage this to the national level, local level, and trying to find our best way, not to loan too much money from other institute as well, but maybe we needed that. But yes, this is us 16 hotspot, and 4 has been picked, and governor is very serious and putting the money to the last one, which is like the coastline that is been sinking. So yes, and this is us sinking in Southeast Asia. So how many more water acceleration program we need? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I saw a lot of places to be, except for one image, maybe with a crocodile. But thanks a lot. I think maybe as a thanks all panelists. As a short summary, which I will really keep short. Sort of how to transform all this idea in a more global approach. I've seen building coalitions. I've seen new ideas for finance and also storytelling. I think planning and design is a really good way to really engage communities, national, local, all kind of partners actually to work around water, which is our biggest connector. That's what's always bringing me so enthusiastic about the topic. It's not maybe sometimes people, but water will force us to work together. So great that you were all here. I would now like to go to the next slide, I would like to actually ask His Excellency Mr. Mark Harbers, the Minister of Infrastructure and Water Management of the Netherlands, to ask you to the stage to share your concluding remarks. Thank you very much.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, or should I say, dear water as leverage friends. It's only 9 months after the UN Water Conference where we, as water as leverage partners, stood together in our conviction that water as leverage is a leverage for climate adaptation. There at the UN Water Conference in New York, we contributed to the upscaling water as leverage commitment to the Water Action Agenda. We see water as leverage as the main vehicle for reaching the 4th goal of the Netherlands' international water ambition on enhancing water safety and water security for millions of peoples in cities. But we need to upscale water as leverage to reach that goal. And we need our key partners here with us today to do so. With this new partnership announced here today, UN Habitat supports the Water Action Agenda commitment. They share our ambition of bringing water as leverage to many more cities worldwide. First step in this partnership is to set up a joint program and have UN Habitat support the new water as leverage trajectory in Bangkok, Thailand, and also to explore it in the city of Nakuru and beyond in Kenya. And in 2 weeks from now, the moderator of today, Naomi Hogevorst of UN Habitat, will moderate the first Water as Leverage for Resilient Indian Cities, Prayagraj workshop in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh in India. As our special envoy for international water affairs, Ms. Meike van Ginneke, mentioned in her opening speech, a lot has been done since March of this year. With this partnership with UN Habitat, so much more will be done in this month of December, in 2024, and in the years after. We hope to count on all of you to make water as leverage a greater success and fulfilling our Water Action Agenda commitments. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a lot of success and the best of luck in getting all the results of this Water Action Agenda commitment. Thank you very much.
Great to see leaders with so much ambition. I think everyone wants to connect to this, and that's why we are going to the next segment to actually have discussions with all of you here in the room that shared an interest in being here with us. We would like to share a drink with you, a toast on the new partnership, and there's also after that an opportunity to learn more about CDRI and the program that will be launched. So please stay around. Thanks all for coming. Yes, one more thing. If we, it would be great actually to make a group picture of all of you here, so we can also share that we are working together on this water as leverage approach. Thanks a lot for being here, and also online. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
disasters, climate change, and rising global temperatures are disrupting the lives and livelihood of urban residents. Be it extreme heat waves, flooding, water scarcity, or severe tropical storms. The effects of climate change are impacting cities by varying degrees across continents. With the additional stress on existing infrastructure, it is becoming a challenge for the growing urban population to cope with the changing scenario. Today, with cities contributing to almost 80% of the global GDP, it is imperative that we invest in making our urban infrastructure more resilient. At CDRI, we plan to strengthen urban resilience through enhanced capacities for taking informed decisions. An initiative in this direction is CDRI's Urban Infrastructure Resilience Program, an effort towards strengthening urban areas across low and middle-income countries. And the foundation of this initiative rests on 4 pillars. Let us unite to create resilient cities, better equipped to build a safe and sustainable future for generations to come.